Hey folks, it's Frithgar here, how you doing? Welcome back to Farming Simulator 19 here in Boulder Canyon, and I know I don't often for the other series, but it does feel right to do it for this one, for the super hardcore, because this one is supposed to be as realistic as possible. So I'm just going to change the currency over. So I was asking you all in the comments what we do about our IMT 533 Deluxe bad boy right here, which quite frankly looks almost identical, by a remarkable coincidence, to the, apart from the hitch and everything on the back, although that bit up there does, looks almost identical to the Massey Ferguson 35. The absolute classic beauty that is the Massey Ferguson 35. This does look very, very similar. That bit up there is a double pin that goes across that you use for some... It uses stabilizers. Tractors these days tend to use stabilizers down here on chains. But that, you would put stabilizers that would go up to there. There were some implements that would use that bit up there as well. I've never seen a 35 with a hitch up there. The hitch down here, yes, you'd have that one, or you'd have a little hook one. That one in there, you would have a cover that goes over it, because that spins continuously. It never stops. The pedals... See that there? That's accurate. That is accurately represented, and it's on the correct side as well. He says yes, it's on the right-hand side. Yeah, so it is that one. That is the draft range. You lift that up and down, and then pedals. That's all correct. You got pedals over here. I no idea what that barrel thing is right there. That lever there, that's to engage the PTO on it. And then if we have a look actually in the bad boy itself, and we have a look on the right hand side, you've got a lever just underneath the steering wheel. That is the throttle. There is no foot throttle on these old tractors. Now this one appears to have a working starter on it as well, and all the dials and everything intact. My goodness me, that is unheard of. I've never seen the dials and everything all intact. So I've gone and increased the horsepower ever so slightly on the tractor so that it better represents what it should be. Now, it's still not great. It's still not, like, hugely... Well, I don't want it massively powerful, okay? I want it to sort of represent a tractor that has had a bit of work done on it. It's not going to be a brand new tractor, but it should be in a region of 30 to 35 horsepower. That's what we want. Now, the game doesn't really like 30 to 35 horsepower. If I do it at 30 to 35, it doesn't accurately represent it. Now, I've set it to 50 horsepower, and it's still, I don't think, it's not quite doing it right, so I might have to tweak that up slightly, but I can do that in between episodes. So I think it's all right. I think at this point now it's all right. We've got, it is moving. We'll see what it's like when it comes to moving a full load of timber. I may have to just increase that a little bit more, just so that we've got a proper, accurate representation of what the tractor should be, which is around 30 to 35. 33 horsepower to be precise. Yeah, it is difficult to get it right with the actual game. 250 horsepower that it was at isn't right. I set it down to 25, and that ended up coming across as too weak. It didn't work. And then I've now set it to 50, and that still isn't quite enough, actually. It does need to be tweaked. Again, slightly, take it up a little bit more than that. But I will do that. What we're going to do, though, to represent our working on this tractor, taking some time to work on the tractor and getting it right, is we're going to fast forward an entire day at 120 speed. I'm not going to do nothing for the day, because I'm not going to say that we haven't accomplished anything during the day. What I'm going to do is shut that one off, and then... Okay, that's very weird. Oh, I think it remembered where the angle that I was at, or something like that. But no, what we'll do is we'll cut down some trees using the chainsaw while the day is ticking by at 120 speed. And we'll do it like that. And then after we've done that, we'll then, the following day, we'll be able to use the tractor again and start loading it up, the same as what we were doing in our last episode. So we've got 20 minutes before we have to actually stop work. So I'm going to start cutting up this tree over here, and while we work. If you have not yet joined, then please consider heading into the description down below and clicking on the link to go and take a look at our new Discord server that Jimmy J and Smoodalini have set up between them, and then Travis Dudley, Hello World, I think he is, on, I'm pretty sure his name is Hello World. I'll get it right eventually. On the server, we've got 3 admins on there who dedicate a lot of time and energy to keeping that place running spick and span. It is absolutely wonderful. There is, obviously, as we get set up to start with, there may be 1 or 2 teething issues, and mistakes may be made, but please bear with us all as we get things up and running and off the ground. We're having a lot of fun over there on the Discord server, it's got to be said. It's absolutely fantastic meeting and talking with people, and I can sort of... I'm kind of just doing a quick flyby wave hello in between doing some recordings, and then I'm off again. And while I do my editing work in the evenings, I also spend a bit of time swapping gifts and things like that. And it's a great place to go if you want to suggest mods, if you want to suggest maps, that kind of thing. I am on the lookout this week for a map for the live stream on Friday evening, which I want to be a very large-scale map. I'm looking for big scale this time. I want a large-scale map because I want to have a go at doing a bit of large-scale farming if I can. Because a lot of people have been requesting that I do that, and I haven't done that with like the really, really big stuff. So I want a big farm where we can do some big farming. And that's what I'm going to attempt to do in this week's live stream, if we can do it. So I need map suggestions. You can put those in the comment section down below, or you can head to the Discord and you can suggest them in the appropriate place on the Discord as well. We had our question last week. I asked you, what would you like the final target to be on this map? What are we working towards? What do we need to do to be able to say we have finished this map and it's time to move on? Did you want me to go towards a set number of chickens, set number of sheep, set number of pigs, set number of sheep? You get the idea here. So chickens, pigs, sheep, cows, or a set number of absolutely all of them all pushed in together. And we had, hang on a minute, I'm going to need, let me get my piece of paper in front of me while I carry on doing this. Okay, so we had 802 people answer the question this week. We had 41 people said that we should be going for just chickens. Not very many. 49 people said just sheep, so again, not a lot of love. 53 people for just pigs. Not a lot of love for just pigs either, really. 151 people wanted just cows, so there's a little bit more with the cows, a little bit more interest with the cows. But 508, well over half of you, long way, about 3/4 of you, maybe a bit more than that even. No, not quite 3/4. Good 2/3 of people would like me to do some of everything. Now, we will work on our target of what some of everything entails, whether it's 1 cow, 2 pigs, 3 sheep, and 4 chickens, or something like that. That was going to be my question for this week, but I've actually got a better question for this week now, due to a suggestion that somebody made. I have a couple of people who said a few times now, and well, there is a number of people who've said they don't like the idea of me using the Autoload. Now, I've said right from the beginning that I want to use Autoload trailers. I know they're not particularly realistic. Right, it's 8 o'clock, we have to stop work. I know they're not realistic, right? I do appreciate that they're not realistic. However, it's going to drive everybody insane if I have to load everything by hand. We've only got a small field here at the moment. If I'm having to go, and if I'm working like huge areas all the way out around here in order to make room for all of these animals and that we're getting, we're going to want auto-load of some kind. So somebody actually suggested in the comments section what I thought was an absolutely wonderful suggestion. We're going to sleep until 7 AM. Like that. 7,000 on loan interest. This is where it starts to hurt. Somebody suggested in the comment section that what we should do is, right, vehicle running costs, vehicle maintenance, 5 and 5. I forgot to see what the leasing costs were for our new Manitou that we have to lease. Somebody suggested that what I could do, hang on, we're repairing our tractor today, so we need to leave it at 120 times speed all day. We can still cut up some timber, but we can't do anything else. Somebody suggested that what I could do in order to sort of counteract the non-realism involved with the Autoload trailer, and so that we don't all lose the will to live watching me load hundreds and hundreds, possibly thousands of pieces of timber onto a trailer by, you know, just using the log grabs. While I'm using the Autoload, I could speed time up. And I think this is an absolutely wonderful compromise between the two. I genuinely do. I think this is an amazing idea between the two. It's a gorgeous compromise. So while we're using the Autoload, that includes from the moment we start up the vehicle that we're using it on. Well, maybe not actually from the precise moment, but once we get it like ready and we're ready to start using it, we then have to start fast forwarding time. Time needs to be going by a bit faster than it would otherwise. And we'd be looking at, well, see, they suggested that we do it at around 30 times speed. I thought about this. I thought, well, you know, 30 times speed is pretty good. You know, we run it at 30 times speed, and that could accurately represent... Have I got any more of these long, thin tips here anywhere? 30 times speed could accurately represent it. Well, I really don't know if I have. I guess maybe they'll be over this way if I have. It's a good representation, I think, 30 times speed, but it might not be enough to satisfy everybody. So what I'm going to do is, this week's question is, how fast do I speed up? I'm going to use the Autoload. Right, I'm not giving that one as an option for a yes or no. But what I am going to say is, how fast should I speed up time while I'm using the Autoload? Because this way, I do think this is a really, really good compromise between the two. While I'm using Autoload, should I speed time up by 30 times speed as was initially suggested, or should I go for 60 times speed instead? I think 120 times speed is too fast. I think that is not accurately representing the passage of time. If we're running at 5 times speed and we're loading up by hand with a grab that can take 2 or 3 logs, I think time 120, you know, at 5 times speed, 30 or 60, I think is a pretty good... It seems reasonably close. 15 is definitely too slow to kind of accurately represent the amount of time that would go past, and I do think that 120 is too fast. So I'm going to keep it simple. Do you think we should have time going at 30 times speed or 60 times speed? So we are going to be using the Autoload trailers and the Autoload logging trailers, but when I'm using it, how fast should I fast forward time in order to accurately represent the amount of time that we are kind of essentially skipping? Do you want me to fast forward time at 30 times speed or 60 times speed? It's your votes, it's your game. Head into the comment section down below, let us know which one you want and why, and of course don't forget to actually cast your vote in the top right hand corner. If you have the if you've got an ad blocker on, there is the possibility that you can't see the weekly question. I have been told this. I don't know very much about it because I've never used an ad blocker. But if you do have an ad blocker, you might not be able to see the weekly question because of it. So disable your ad blocker in order to be able to see the question and then put it back on again afterwards. You should be able to get it. I think you also need to have annotations enabled in order to be able to see it as well. I had a couple of people saying they couldn't see it. If it's the same issues that we used to have, then those are your main reasons. Those are your main culprits. Right, let's cut down another tree here. And I'm hoping that our increased power will be about right for this tractor. There we go. All right, bring that one over there like that and run up through. Excellent. Just trimming off all of the branches so far. Nice big tree, this one. It's working really well. Ooh. He says. Working perfectly, he says, as it goes all horribly wrong. Right, and then I can bring it over here and chop that one off. I think I've got a little bit on... Yeah, I did have a little bit on there. Right, I've got enough time just to chop up this tree. I think. We might have just enough time to cut up this tree. Which means we should have a decent amount of timber on the ground that we can then start picking up tomorrow with our newly repaired tractor. Because, of course, we spent $7,500 on this tractor. Now, some people said that that was a bit expensive. Even though it was an old tractor, $7,500, you ought to be able to get a tractor that works reasonably well. Keep in mind, though, that we are right in the middle of nowhere, so you're a lot more limited on what you can get hold of, and you're also a lot more limited on the ability to get the machine here. If we'd bought it elsewhere, we would have had to transport it up here, and that would have pushed our costs up. So I stand by the $7.5 grand as being a reasonably realistic one based on those arguments. If you have a counter-argument, please head into the comment section and give it. I read your comments, and I do love to hear why you don't think these things are realistic at times. Now, I know all about the Autoload. We know the Autoload is not realistic, and I accept that. And that is why I'm giving the weekly question as to what it is right now. Okay, there we have run out of time. We've done it. We have repaired our tractor. It's not quite as sort of oomphy as I was really hoping. Oh, I don't want to be a one-time speed. It's got to stay on 5 times like that. And we press R like that. We go 11 hours of sleep. Take us to 7 a.m. So we get a bit of a rest. We read a book, that kind of thing. Vehicle leasing is $370. That's our day-to-day running costs. That also, it says vehicle leasing, but what it actually means is day-to-day running costs. That is food and things like that we also have to pay for, and it's all rolled in together. Right, let's start you up. Also, identical to the Massey Ferguson 35 is the gear sticks on there. If you have a look down here, we've got 2 gear sticks. You can't see them very well. You might be able to see them better there. You can see you've got the small one down there. That is simply a high and low range. Field work, low range, high range, possibly in gear 1. Then the other one that has 4 gears, 1, 2, 3, and reverse. So you can reverse in low or high range. That's all you got on these tractors. You had 6 forward gears and 2 reverse gears. It worked beautifully. It worked absolutely beautifully. I don't know how accurate this IMT is compared to the real life ones. It seems like a fairly accurate representation of a Massey 35, which as far as I'm concerned is a thing of pure and total beauty. Because the Massey 35 is a vehicle that I've done a lot of work in. It was one of my grandfather's favorite tractors. He had a Massey 35 that was actually... Now here's the thing, here's the kicker. It was a Massey 35, but he and his brother did a bit of work on their Massey 35, and they actually put a Massey 65 engine into it. Right? Now, if you have a look up the front, this is such a beautifully modelled tractor. It really is. Very accurate. I don't know about it. Well, it doesn't have 4-wheel drive. That's not actually 4-wheel drive. It should be 2-wheel drive, I'm pretty sure. But you've got the steering rods that come up here, and you can see it right there. See that? That's the steering rod. That is a direct link up to there. No power steering on this thing. That is not power steering. If you hook your thumbs in there and then the wheel hits a rut, you will snap your wrist like a twig, right? You never hook your thumbs inside the steering wheel, thumbs and fingers outside the steering wheel, because if you hit something with that wheel, it will jerk it round, and that will spin the steering wheel. Trust me, people have had some really nasty injuries by hooking their fingers. I had a really nasty injury when I was learning to drive it. That's how I learned not to hook my thumb into the steering wheel. Right? It is nasty. It really can hurt. And yeah, you will snap wrists, snap fingers. You gotta be careful. But yeah, so you've got the steering rods on here, but what they did was they had a 65 engine, and they put into the 35, the standard 35 tractor. And they had to move the steering rod out a little bit. They had to readjust this bit, move this bit out. They had to alter the bonnet and move that out. Also, the exhaust coming off of it as well. And they had to do this around both sides. They had to make some other alterations as well. So there were a few alterations that they had to do in order to make this fit. But they did. They got it to fit. And they got a 65 engine into a Massey 35. 65 engine in a 35 horsepower tractor. Absolutely wonderful. And we've still got that tractor. It doesn't work at the moment because it was unfortunately it wasn't drained out in the winter, and then the fuel pump froze. Not the fuel pump, sorry, the water pump. The water pump froze. So it needs it does need some work on it before it will run again. But we do have it. We do still have it. It is in the shed. It is awaiting repairs. It is absolutely wonderful. I love that tractor. I've spent a lot of time driving that tractor, and that is why it is one of my favorites. It is absolutely one of my favorites because it was my grandfather's. That's Wesley. For those of you who are unsure who I'm talking about, Wesley from the time-lapse series is based on my grandfather, and that was his creation. And we reckon that the horsepower of the tractor by the time it finished, it was a very worn-out engine. Getting the thing started was always quite a feat. It was quite a difficult thing to get the engine started in the first place. But yeah, it was like a lot of these old tractors, that they do take a lot of work to get them going. But once you actually get it going, it does work, and it does do very well. But we reckoned it was in the region of 45 horsepower. Last time it was used, we estimated around 45 horsepower. It was quite a powerful tractor for its size, and I have done quite a lot of work with it. We had a loader on it. It had a small loader on it as well. Not an original Massey loader, but it did have a loader on it, and that loader had also done a lot of work. It's absolutely wonderful. It was a treat to use it. It really was. It was an absolute treat to be able to use it, and I spent many, many, many hours using it. I also did a huge, over like a weekend, we had to do like a whole load of earth moving and stuff, and I did a massive amount of work with it one weekend. Constantly backwards and forwards, most of the time riding on the clutch. Now, anybody who's driven one of these older tractors can appreciate that the clutch on them, it's very, very stiff. All right, the clutch can be extremely stiff, and the problem with that is that it doesn't do your knees a lot of good. It really doesn't. So by the end of the weekend, well, by the end of the first day, my knee was pretty grim. I would have been 15 at the time. I spent a week limping after that. My knee was atrocious after that, and I spent a good long week limping, not able to walk properly, because my knee had pretty much completely seized up by the end of the weekend. It wasn't good. It wasn't pretty. Was it worth it? I thought so. I got the job done. I got the work done in the end, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I really did enjoy doing it. It's altogether different wrestling an old tractor like that with a front loader that doesn't have a tip, right? All you've got for the front loader is just a straight bar that lifts up. And it's got one hydraulic ram on each side that lifts it straight up and down. It doesn't have any kind of tilt function on the bucket itself. All you've got is a lever connected to a bit of wire rope that goes forward to the bucket. And when you want to tip that bucket, you yank the lever and it pulls a pin, and the bucket would rotate forward and just drop down to the ground. And then you lower the thing to the ground. You lower the front loader down to the ground, drag backwards with the tractor, and that kind of resets the pin and puts it back in place. That is the only way that you can do it. That is it. So that loader, I've seen that loader going around with round bales on a round bale spike, stacking round bales with it. That is an art form in itself. I never actually stacked round bales, but I've seen my grandfather doing that a number of times. He was very good at stacking round bales with it, and it's genuinely, honestly, it really is an art form to try to stack round bales with it. It was a difficult thing to try and do because you had nothing. You couldn't, like, you had no real control. All you could do was, like, pick it up off the ground at one set angle, and then you lift it up, and you don't get to alter the angle of the bale. It just goes up, getting steeper and steeper. And then you got to get it on the edge of the stack and back out as you back down, or you release the pin on it if you can, and you sort of do it that way, so that the bale sort of drops into position, and then you back out. It is an art form. You could stack the bales 3 high. You wouldn't want to go any higher than that. And I watched my granddad stack up quite a lot of them, round bales, with that one. You wouldn't normally use it for that, though. Mostly he used it for mucking out and handling earth and stuff like that. So I've seen it do quite a lot of stuff like that. And we've still got that tractor. And one of my dreams, as many of you know, is to one day get my own piece of land, a bit bigger than my garden. If you watch my Instagram feeds, you'll see various pictures of my back garden being posted every now and then. I would like an acre or 2 of land. I'd like to be able to do some stuff with that acre or 2 land, including getting my granddad's tractor fully repaired and running and being able to use it on that parcel of land and doing the different... Look, it does actually get up here. Now, I don't think that this is entirely inaccurate. A 30 horsepower tractor with a trailer load of wood like that is not going to go trundling up that hill like it's got nothing on behind. It's going to make it grunt a bit, isn't it? Definitely going to make it grunt a bit. And now it can do it without too much trouble. We're straight up the hill. We're straight into here. Oop, steady. Pull that one on a little bit. And we can unhitch there. Or not unhitch, we can just sell. So $3,600 in sold wood like that. And then we can carry on. So I don't think this tractor is suitable for pulling a... for an Autoload trailer, but this tractor would be suitable, I believe, for using one of those that require. Oh, it requires 70 horsepower. It might not let me do it. May not let me do that. In which case, we're gonna need a bigger tractor anyway. And I absolutely love this tractor. I genuinely love the tractor that we've got, and I'm loath to get rid of it. I'd like to be able to keep it, and I'd like it to be useful and to be kept and to be useful. So that's medium tractors there, which we don't really want. So we're going to go here. Now, the Fiat here, this is 150 horsepower, and it's 60 grand. Doesn't have a front loader on it. So we've got no option for a front loader, which is going to slow things down. But we could have that one. And that one, you know, that's a bigger tractor, 150 horsepower. I mean, I don't know if that one, 1300 DT, is that one accurate? Would that actually be 150 horsepower in real life? I don't know. That seems a bit overpowered, to be honest. Just a little bit. Not masses, but it does seem a little bit overpowered. And then, of course, I know that we've got the Force-Grit overs here, these two over here. I'm not a fan of these tractors. Just the appearance of them, I got to be honest, I really am not wanting to get one. I'm looking at these tractors, and I'm not thinking that is a vehicle that I want to own at all. I'd rather go for the Hurleyman here. Now, I've put that down to 45, and a lot of people have said that I've gone too far with that one. Perhaps I should, because I think it's actually at $45,000 anyway. Perhaps I should put that back to what it was and keep it like that. Now, it does have a front link on it. I could put it back to what it was. It was a 90 horsepower tractor, and we could have that one as a potential. So I could restore that one, because that's actually a mod off the Mod Hub. I could just restore it back to its defaults, and we could use that one. I could certainly consider doing that one. I'll have a look at what the defaults of that one is, because that one would be able to pull the Autoload trailer. Right? We would be able to do that. That would be something that we could do. Oh, this is another 26,000. People also said they were concerned... Let's get moving again. People also said that they were concerned... Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. There's some timber left in this trailer. People were concerned about the fact that I've got, that I would have a little bit of, what was it? There we go. Right, oh, yeah, we didn't quite have the auto-load working properly when I tried it out in one of the episodes. And I needed to have a lorry on the front, or a truck, depending where you're from in the world. And in order to get it to work properly, it was able to work. The only thing I couldn't do properly was alter the setting for where you put the like the central point for it. That was the only bit that I couldn't do accurately. But the rest of it, I am able to get it to work. It just doesn't quite show up the controls as well as it would if we were using just, you know, a standard a lorry on the front of it. It did have a little bit of an issue with that, so a slight hiccup with that. I don't mind that. I'm quite happy to live with that little hiccup. We can kind of work our way through that. I knew I had a little stack of these somewhere. Let's just leave that one ticking over a second, and we'll grab these and load them up. Put them in there. I'll get all of these. Like this. If I've got a couple of longer bits, I'll just trim the very tips off. The best way to do this, I think. And we can load them all up. Get all of this timber sold. I knew I had them. I knew it. Just running around trying to find them, and I didn't know where they'd gone. And here they were, all this time. That one there is the one that I want to move all the way back there. Perfect, look at that. Right. And then, so you... I'll move you over that side. And then that one there... I'll move you like that. And that one like that. So then they're lying flat in the trailer, and we can carry on. Excellent. Now, what was I saying? I was talking about something. Frithgar, talking incessantly, without let up. Whatever next? I know, I'm as shocked as you are. So, yeah, auto-load trailer. Oh, I am able to use the auto-load trailer with just a standard tractor. It's not that it's broken or anything. It doesn't show up like the central position for where the logs are and things like that. As long as we don't try and alter it, it should be fine. I don't think you can even... I don't think you can alter it. So it shouldn't have any issues. There shouldn't be any problems with it whatsoever. It should just be able to load up as an auto-load. But a lot of people, I got the impression, were more keen on the idea of me using the X-lifter thing as like a log skid. If I can get hold of the end of the tree and use it as some kind of log skidder. Some people saying that this 35, or the IMT, whatever you want to call it, is too small. It's too small a tractor to be using that thing to be towing logs around. You wouldn't be able to accurately do that. All you'd be able to do is like put that on the back and then set it down on the ground and move it. Trouble is, you wouldn't be able to do that because it doesn't have a sideways swivel on it. All it's got is just a straight up and down position. That's all you can do. Is you can get hold of the log, you can move it up and down, and that's it. You wouldn't be able to do anything else with it. So whether or not you think that that is accurate or not, I don't really know. A lot of people did seem to like the idea of using it as a log skid, where we just kind of grab hold of some of it and then we drag the thing, and we drag the branch up there to the mill, and then we can sell it like that. We need 12,000 to be able to buy that skid. And I'm thinking that would be a pretty good, like, next purchase to go for before we worry about getting a bigger tractor. Because even if it doesn't really work out, we've still got the X-lifter anyway. And I think that would be quite a cool thing to have later on for, like, fertilizer and stuff like that. So even if we're buying it a little bit sooner than we would otherwise intend, I still think it's something that we would want to keep on the farm and we would want to use. This little 35, every farm I have ever worked on, and this includes the, because a lot of you know that I spent a bit of time working on a large arable estate, as well as, mostly I've worked on small to medium farms, but I did work on a large arable estate, which by standards in some places in the world is still, like, at most would be considered a medium-sized farm. For the UK, it was quite a big farm. It was about 2,500 acres, I think, altogether. We had beef, we had sheep, and we had arable on this farm. And they had on that farm a small old tractor, and this surprised me because I thought that it was all about brand new tractors. Mostly they had two John Deere 7700 on there, and they had a couple of New Hollands as well, and then they had an air-cooled Deutz. It didn't have a water-cooled radiator, it was an air-cooled thing, and this tractor was horrible. It was genuine. This is the only Deutz tractor that I've ever personally driven, which is why when I first started doing farming simulator videos, I always said I really didn't like Deutz at all. I hated them. It was because the only one I've ever driven was one of the worst tractors I've ever had the misfortune of driving. It was a horrible thing. I hated it. I detested that tractor. Genuinely despised it. And every moment I spent in it was just horrific. It was horrible. Fortunately, I didn't have to spend all that long in it because it was an old clapped-out piece of rubbish, and unless we were desperate, that one stayed in the shed and we used something else. But they had an old Ford, I think it was a Ford 4000. Is that like a 30 to 40 horsepower tractor? Little old Ford thing. I'm pretty sure it was a 4000. Ford 4000. But it was, you know, a little old tractor. And everywhere else I've worked, most places I've worked, their old tractor, their little old tiny tractor that they've got kicking around somewhere in a shed has been a Massey 35 or a Massey 135. One or the other. Very few places I've gone to work haven't had either a Massey 35 or a Massey 135. Or both, for that matter. And it seems to be a rare farm that doesn't have an old tractor from back in the day. And a lot of these places would have had tractors since they got the 135 or the 35. And those tractors have actually worn out completely and they're no good anymore. But the 35 or 135 or the Ford 4000 in the case of the bigger farm that I worked on, they were still going strong. They still worked. Now, there wasn't obviously a lot of work that some of these places could do with them. It was a little bit more limited what they could do with them because, you know, with those tiny little tractors, there isn't a great deal that you can do with them, quite frankly. But it's still that they were still running. They were still going. And so they were kept back for various different jobs that might need to be done. Look at that beautiful load of timber that we've got up there. I know I've used this same one as the screenshot already, but I kind of want another screenshot now with this. We got to get something with this. Get rid of that one. We've got that IMT. I want to get a better one with the IMT, I think, because it is a gorgeous little tractor, isn't it? Isn't that just a fantastic tractor? Let's do this. Oh, I know. I'm going to properly pose this one this time. I'm going to properly pose a screenshot, something I haven't done for ages. Let's bring this out here, and then I want to bring it round slightly so that I'm in the sunshine. And I've got the trailer behind me, like that, there. And I'll bring that one round, and we're gonna crouch down. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Now I'm sort of thinking where I've got the different bits around the screen. That's the thing of beauty right there. Right, I've done that. I've left a little gap in my incessant speech so that I know where to find it. I think that's quite a good picture. And I'm hoping in our next episode we'll get a new toy to play with, which will be the X-Lifter. We're going to try it on the back of this one. But yeah, all of those farms that I've gone to work on, not one single farm hasn't had an old tractor kicking around somewhere. An old 135 or a Massey 35. Those were like the big popular ones in the UK. But also, like I said, that farm that had the Ford 4000, I'm pretty sure I'm not sure it was a 4000. Every time I say it, I'm like, well, I don't know, was it or wasn't it? It might have been. I hope I got that right. but everywhere has had it. Nowhere, no place have I gone to work that they've decided to get rid of that tractor because they didn't think that they would need it. Everyone has used it, even if it's to stick a link box on the back and use it to go around and do a little bit of fencing with every now and then, or put a log splitter on the back of it and just use it stationary every now and then to do a little bit of log splitting. They've all got them somewhere. And so, for that reason, I don't want to get rid of this tractor. This is our first tractor. This is our classic tractor that we've got on the farm. And that is the precise reason that I don't want to get rid of it. This is our classic beastie that is currently shedding logs. Shedding lots of logs. There's 3 gone. Still getting up the hill. It's a struggle, but it's still doing it. I love the fact that it is actually doing it, though. Look at that. It's doing it beautifully as well. Absolutely beautifully. So our work, I know it took us a whole day to do it. We did get a load of timber cut up. So we have, you know, it wasn't like a complete waste of time. We did get all of this timber chopped up that we're able to use. I'm just going to run and grab those 3 logs down there, and we'll bring them up, and then we'll sell the whole lot. That's going to take us up to 0, and then I'm hoping in tomorrow's episode we will be in a position where we're going to go from, 0 up to the 12,000 required for our next purchase. And then we've got the long, slow trek back to the shop with the tractor in order to get the X-lifter. That's going to take a little while. That's going to be a bit tedious. And then we're going to have to experiment with which is going to be the fastest way of earning money. I will, before the next episode, take a look at the Hurleyman and see what the base game settings are for it. Because that 5 grand? Holy gravy! That is awesome! I genuinely didn't expect 5 grand from that load. Ah, that is fantastic! We are well on our way. Couple loads like that, and we are going to... 3 loads. 3 loads, and we will be well on our way to having that X-lifter. What do we need for that X-lifter? It's under miscellaneous under here. We need that one 600 there. It doesn't have any options at all. And then that one 12,600 there. We've got there. We can go original lizard. That makes it more expensive. We have to go blue-yellow. We go blue-yellow on there. That is 12,600. We need 13,200. We can't do it with just the hook on its own. That's not enough. We've got to get 13,200. So, it shouldn't take too long. But also, once we get that, we'll be able to pick up these bits of timber back here as well. Be able to use those, load them up. Oh, I dropped another log there. I didn't even see I dropped that one. Didn't even see that one had fallen out. Alright. That's what I get for loading it too high. I got greedy. That's what I got. I got greedy. But anyway, I have run out of time for today's episode. So, the question of the week is all about autoloaders. I know some of you really don't like the idea of me using autoloaders. However, I stand by my reasons for wanting to use them. It's going to get just too boring for the series to not use them at all. I may manually load some stuff, but I'm doing an awful lot of manual loading at this point, and eventually you're going to want me to sort of be progressing the series and doing something other than just loading stuff up, loading up timber. So this is why, and also, yeah, I just like using auto loads. But in order to compensate for the complete lack of realism that I do thoroughly appreciate some of you don't like with the auto loaders, somebody had a suggestion in the comment section. I'm really sorry I don't remember what your name is, the person who suggested this, because this suggestion is quite possibly one of the best ones that I have seen in weeks and weeks and weeks about anything. I really love this idea, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. And that is that while we use autoload, while we use any form of autoload, and I may extend this out to bale autoload trailers as well if we decide to use some of them, any form of autoload, right? While I'm using it, do I have time being fast forwarded at 30 times speed, as was initially suggested, or do I have time being fast-forwarded at 60 times speed, slightly faster than was suggested? I think 120 is too fast, I think 15 is too slow. I don't think 15 would be enough. So, it's your vote, it's your game. Head into the comment section down below. Let us know which one you want and why. And, of course, don't forget to actually cast your vote in the top right-hand corner. Do you think I should use auto-load trailers at 30 times speed or 60 times speed? And by that, I mean, do you think I should speed time up and run it at 30 times time speed, the time scale to go to 30 times faster, or time scale on 60 times faster while we're using them to kind of represent the time that we would otherwise have taken to load up those logs and get the load all strapped down and ready and so on. So yeah, if you're not, well, I can imagine that any would be unclear about that. So which do you want? I really want to hear your thoughts and opinions on this as well. Do you think that this is a reasonable compromise? I think this is a reasonable compromise, personally. I know I've got my reasons for wanting to use the auto-load. And, you know, there's plenty of you that really don't want me to be using the auto-load. And I really genuinely believe that this is it's an awesome compromise between the two. It will allow us to use the auto-load, but it's also not going to smash realism completely by doing things a lot faster than we would otherwise do. All we're doing is removing some of the really dreary gameplay whilst maintaining a little bit of realism, I think. This is kind of my take on it. You may have a different take on it, so I'm really looking forward to hearing that. But anyway, I have run out of time, so if you've enjoyed the episode, then please head down below and give us a like. And if you really enjoyed it, then please tell your friends all about me. Get them to come and watch as well. That would be awesome. Let me just get that one onto here somewhere. About there. I reckon a couple more logs onto this load, and then we'll be done. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. This is Frithgar. Goodbye, and see you later.